Right. So, ayan. So, ito yung ating gustong ma-accomplish ngayong araw na to. Nagawa na natin yung explanation itong una, no? Na-clarify ko na para maliwanag na sa inyo. So, bago ako mag-move on dun sa review ng array, meron ba kayong gustong i-clarify dun sa ating project between simple and complex? Yes?
Bali, ma'am, yung midterms po, simple application ng gagawin. Tama po.
Teka lang. Hindi ko marinig. Ulit?
Bali, ma'am, sa midterms po, ma'am, simple application lang po yung gagawin.
Correct. Correct.
Okay po, ma'am.
Okay. Tama ka dyan. Simple lang yung gagamitin nyo. Yung gagawin nyo pala. At na-discuss ko na rin yung rubrics. Bali, the same rubric then will apply on a complex. No? Basta kung ano yung nilagay nyo na function, gumagana, okay yan. Kahit gano'n ka-simple yan. Walang problema. Hindi nyo kailangan gawing very complex yung para sa midterm. Kasi simple lang yung kailangan doon. No? So, napaliwanag ko naman sa inyo yung difference ng dalawa. No? Ibig sabihin, hindi naman ganun karami yung function na ilalagay sa simple. Doon kayo kung gusto nyo i-expound yung ginawa nyong una, gawin yung complex. Ayun, mas maganda, no? Para hindi na kayo mahihirapan. I-amp nyo na lang yung ginawa nyong una dun sa maganda rin yun. Parang naging starting point nyo yung simple. Tapos, pagdating ng finals, ginawa yung complex. Maganda rin yung concept na yon, no? Anything else? Bago tayo mag-move on dun sa review. Wala na? Wala na, class? Wala na? Move on lang tayo sa i-review lang natin yung array. Wala na? Okay. So, kung wala na, ibalikan natin yung array, no? Array. Let's go to array. Wala dito yung array. Ayan, array. So, ayan. So, inaral natin yung array last time. Re-reviewin lang natin, no? So, again, pag nag-declare tayo ng array, ibig sabihin, gagamit tayo ng square bracket, no? Tapos, meron tayo dyang pangalan, no? Ang array natin. Alalahanin natin na ang array, it's a collection of data elements or data type, no? In this case, dito sa ating sample, meron tayong mga indexes, no? Meron tayong ilang index dito. Okay. So, nakikita nyo ba yung screen natin? Kung nire-review ko lang,
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. Ilan ang index na meron dito sa example, dito sa age na array? Ilang index meron?
4 po, ma'am.
Ha? Ilang index meron? Sino yung sumagot? Sige nga.
4 po, ma'am.
Natin.
Kasi start po sa 0.
So, ilan ang index meron?
4 po, ma'am.
Oo, sigurado ka, 4?
Kasi nag-start po sa 0, ma'am.
Oo nga. Teka. May nagtaas ng kamay. Sandali. No, nawala yung nagtaas ng kamay. Sino yun? Hindi ko nakikita. Ayun, si Angel. Angel. Oh, ilan?
5 indexes po.
Ha?
5 po.
5. Correct, 5. Nag-start ka sa 0, pero ang bilang mo ay 5. Okay. Ang array, nag-i-start siya lagi sa 0, pero ang bilang niya, kahit na 4 yung index, there are 5. They are 5, no? Huwag kayong magbe-base doon sa ano, kasi nag-i-start siya sa 0. Tama ka, Cedric, nag-i-start siya sa 0, pero kasama yung 0 sa bilang. Kaya tama si Angel, 5, no? 5 yung index. Okay, ibalik lang natin yung ano, no? So, itong ating array ay may laman, wala pang laman, no? Kasi may pangalan pa lang, no? Naka-index pa lang, no? Okay? May 5 na index, no? So, magkakalaman yan pagka dito sa ating initialization, no? So, pag initialize siya, no? Pwede mong i-call yung kada index, no? Kaya lang kailangan mo muna siyang i-declare, no? Parang katulad dun sa C, no? Dinedeclare mo muna siya lahat, no? Tapos, lalagyan mo siya, i-store mo, at pagkatapos, ayan, pwede mo na siyang palabasin, no? Pwede mo siyang i-call bawat index. Ayan. So, okay. So, ito yung sample natin na code, no? Meron ditong complete example, no? So, ilagay nga natin sa copy natin. So, tingnan natin kung anong lalabas dito, no? Nasaan? Okay. 1N kayo, no? 1N, please. Okay, nilagay ko sa GC yung code. Okay, paki-pick up nga. Tawag tayo. Okay, tawagin natin si Lorenzo Riego. Lorenzo, paki-pick up nga sa GC yung code na sample doon sa array. Tapos, tingnan natin kung anong meron doon sa code na yan. Dito sa ating ginamit na example. And paki-share. Asan si Lorenzo? Ginagawa na ba ni Lorenzo? Lorenzo, pwede ka bang mag-share?
Hello po. Ay, wait lang po.
Oo.
Share
Paki-share
ko na po.
yung nilagay ko sa GC. Tingnan
Sige po.
natin. Para makita natin yung example na pinick up ko doon sa ano.
Share ko na po habang ginagawa.
Yes, paki-share.
Ay. May telepono po. May telepono.
Ayan. Tapos paran. Tingnan natin kung anong lalabas.
May error mo.
May error.
Opo.
Teka ha. Tingnan ko kung saan nag-error? To 0.
Ay, wait ako na.
Set po.
Kaso mali rin. Sa 11 daw, ma'am, nag-error. 12, 13, 15.
O may natanggal ka? Teka.
Binalik ko po.
Ma'am, kulang po ng curly braces after return 0.
Ay, hindi ko na-copy yung curly brace. Pagkatapos ng return 0, maglagay ka ng curly brace na panara. Baba mo. Ayan. Okay. Baba mo para best practice. Ayan. Malala. Sorry, hindi ko na-copy. Ayan. So, okay. So, nagpalabas ng yan. Para nakikita natin. Okay. 5, 10, 11. Ayan. So, yan yung ating array na sample, no? So, kung titingnan nyo, doon sa ating okay, integer yung pinalabas. Nakita nyo naman, integer. That's 5, 10, and 15. Yung pangalan ng array is A, nakalagay, nag-square bracket siya. Nilagay niya yung length. Meron siyang variable dyan na length, no? And then, dun sa 4, okay, meron siyang int, n is equal to 0, and is less than the length, no? So, may nilagay siyang value dyan, na nag-see out siya ng A, which is yung ating number, no? Yung number dyan sa A, ito yon, no? Yung int, no? 5, 10, 15, no? Yan yung sini-out niya, no? So, parang ano lang ito, no? Naglagay siya ng lalagyan dito sa taas, which is yung index, no? Ito sa taas. At dito, naglagay siya na sini-out niya na dapat may ilalagay dun sa end, no? At dito sa baba, dito siya naglagay ng i-store, no? So, nag-print siya. Ayan, print 3. Ito dun sa A, no? Yung tatlong values dito, ipiprint niya. Ayan. Kaya lumitaw dito yung 5, 10, 15, no? So, una, okay, nilagay mo muna niya, no? Inilabas niya muna, print niya muna yung array, and then sini-out niya, and then nilagyan niya ng laman, eto, yung nakalagay sa curly braces, and then kinol niya at i-print niya. So, yan yung value. Kaya hindi siya lumitaw kanina kasi kulang pala ng curly brace yung ilagay ko. Sorry naman, sorry. Okay, so yan yung array, nire-review lang natin. Salamat Lorenzo. And para maalala natin, no? Kasi gusto ko sana yung gagawin ninyo ay total, kung halimbawa merong may balak sa inyo gumamit ng tic-tac-toe, no? Pwedeng gamitin natin yung array doon, ano? Ayan. So, magandang reference yan. Okay, next. So, nireview ko lang yung array. We are now moving on to the next topic, which is yung function. Ayan. Ito yung ating ito yung ating reference, no? So, array and then function. Doon sa ating instruction manual. So, moving tayo sa video. Okay, so pakinggan natin itong function. Kanina meron na akong ipinakitang video ng function, no? Yung medyo simple lang na video ni Kuya about function. And then we'll go through function from here, no? Okay. Alright. So, i-verify ko lang, nakikita nyo ba yung video na nakalagay using namespace? Nakikita ba? Okay. So, ayan. Ipi-play ko na siya. Teka. I-verify ko lang dito sa ating baka hindi ako naka-share. Okay, mag-share ako. And then, ayan. Nakikita na. Nakikita na, no?
Yes po.
Kanina hindi ako naka-share eh. Okay, ayan na. So, pakinggan natin yung function. Okay.
Now, I talked about this a little bit in a couple tutorials ago, but I want to talk about it again because I really want to stress what functions are and why they are useful in C++ programming. So, if you remember, a function is basically a computer program is made up of a bunch of functions. Right now we have one function right here, and basically the job of a function is to do something. So inside function we can give our program a bunch of separate instructions, all followed by a semicolon. So our main function that we already learned is the starting point for every computer program. Every program starts with the function main. So this is one function right here, but let's go ahead and create another function. And in order to do that, go ahead and separate from your main. So before we were coding everything inside the main function, but now we want to create another function. So go outside main right here. Now the first thing that we need is a return type. And this is whenever people build functions, they usually make a calculation and give you back something. For example, if we had a function to calculate the speed of my car, it would give me back a number. If we had a function to calculate my weight, it would give me back a number. Well, sometimes functions make calculations, and sometimes when they don't make calculations, just as like printing something out on the screen, it doesn't really need to calculate anything. So sometimes functions are going to return a number to you. In that case, you would use int. And sometimes they just do stuff like print something out on the screen and don't return any answer to you. Whenever a function doesn't return anything to you, just go ahead and put void. And this means, function, just go ahead and do your thing, and I don't want anything in return. So the very first thing you write is the return type of the function. So this one, you see it returned a number, but this one is just going to print something out on the screen, so it's going to return void. So after this, you go ahead and you name your function. This one is named main, and you can actually name it anything you want. This function is just going to print something out on the screen, like I said, so I'm just going to name it print something. Pretty dumb, I know, but hey, it's my function. I can do what I want. So after this, you see that I added 2 little curly braces, and those are actually called parameters. Whenever your function needs additional information, you add parameters, but we're going to be covering this in the next tutorial. For now, just remember to add them and add nothing in between them. Trust me, I'm going to be covering this in the next tutorial, and I'm going to make it real easy to understand. But after these parentheses, go ahead and add 2 curly brackets. And just like I said before, this is the body of your function. For example, if you had a function called make peanut butter and jelly, inside your body, you would have a set of instructions like get out the bread. Next instruction, put peanut butter on one slice. Next instruction, put jelly on one slice. Lastly, eat it. Well, in the body of our function, we give it each instruction about what we want this function to do. So in our function called print something, the only thing that we want this function to do is print something out on the screen. Easy enough, we already know how to do that. So let's go ahead and cout. Oops, there we go. And what are we going to print out on the screen? Just write like, ooh, I am text on the screen. It's a very feminine function we have here. But anyways, then just go ahead and
Wait lang. Nandiyan ba yung mag-remind sa atin ng break? Present ba yun?
Yes po, I'm here, ma'am.
Ayan. So, i-remind mo na lang kami kung okay, kung time na, ha? Okay. Thank you.
Or
Sige. Tuloy natin.
end the line. Simple enough. So now, whenever we use this function, whenever you use a function, it's called calling the function. Why they did that, I don't know, but just remember whenever I say call the function, I basically just mean use the function. So whenever we call this function, all it's going to do is print out, ooh, I am text on the screen. Simple enough. So let's go ahead and remember, since our computer program starts with main, we need to tell it in main that this is the function that we want to use. So in order to use or call a function, all you do is this. Just go ahead and write print something, empty parameters, and a semicolon. So again, anytime you want to use a function, just go ahead and type the name of the function, empty parameters, and a semicolon. But check this out. Whenever we try and build and run this, we're gonna get an error. This is what this little red rectangle means. You can't read my error message because it's down here, but it says printing something was not declared in the scope. And you're saying, alright, what did we do wrong? Because Bucky told me that this function is built perfectly, which it is, but whenever it tried to call it or use it right here, it didn't understand what was going on. So why is our compiler kind of confused? Well, the reason is this. Computer programs work from the top down. It starts at the very top line and it runs downward until it gets to the very end and then it quits. So whenever our computer program was running, it said this, alright, include this file, done. Use this, done. Okay, now start with main. Print something. What the heck? I never seen that before. Is this a function, or are we trying to make a variable, or what the heck are we doing? I don't know what this means. Well, that's because whenever we created our function, we created it after we used it. We need to tell C++ before we use our function that it is actually a function. So we have a couple ways of doing this. Probably the easiest way is just to do this. Go ahead and cut it, and then above your main, go ahead and paste it. And now C++ is going to think like this. All right, I'm going to include this, simple enough. I'm going to use this, easy enough. And oh, you made a function called print something now. Okay, I'll remember that. So now whenever I call my main and I come across this thing called print something, I know that it's a function that you created. So that's why whenever I build and run it now, it's going to run perfectly without any errors. So that is basically how a computer program works. First, you need to tell it that you are actually creating a function before you can use that function. So if you just try and use it, it's not going to know what it is if you didn't create it first. So we're saying, all right, I'll just remember to create all my functions before I use them. Okay, you can do that, but let me give you an alternative method of doing this. If for some reason you like your main at the top and you like to create your functions after, well, we already know that whenever you try to run this, we're going to get an error. But there is one thing that you can do, and this is called function prototyping. And all this is this. Trust me, it's the easiest thing ever. Go ahead and select your return type, your function name, and the parentheses, and go ahead and copy that. Now, above your main and under your using, go ahead and paste this. This is called the function prototype, and it's pretty much a copy of your function's header. And it basically is saying this. Alright, whenever you run this program now, go ahead and include this, and then this is called prototyping a function. This is pretty much telling our C++ program this. Alright, later on, you're going to come across something called print something. Now, whenever you come across it, we don't want you to freak out like you have before, sending us a whole bunch of error messages. What we're telling you right now is we created a function called print something, but you have to go find it. And C++ is going to say, oh, alright, now whenever I try to run my main and I come across this function, instead of giving you an error message, I'm going to know that this is a function that you have somewhere in your program. So I'm not going to freak out. I know this is a function. I know to handle it accordingly. So check it out. Whenever you try and build and run this, it works perfectly. So that is why you need to do one of two things before you use your function in main. One, you can prototype it, or two, you can just go ahead and make your function before main. Either way, whenever you run this function in main, it needs to know beforehand some way that this is a function. So those are your two different ways of doing that. And again, in order to create a function, go ahead and type the return type, the function name, and the parameters. And again, I'm going to be talking about these parameters in the next tutorial. So as long as you understand this and the basis of how to create a function and how to use them in main, you're ready to move on to the next tutorial. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.
Okay. Pwede natin isunod dyan. Anyway, so bago natin isunod
Hey guys,
yan,
real quick.
What is going on, guys? It is Bucky, and welcome to your 10th C++ tutorial.
okay. So, bago natin panoorin yon, no? Dagdagan ko lang yung sinabi ni Bucky regarding dun sa function, no? May mga times na kailangan kayong gumawa ng function. Bakit? Kasi, dun sa application na ginagamit nyo, katulad dun sa sample niya, no? Something, no? Dun sa pangalan pa lang ng function, it does something in your application, no? Specific, no? Kumbaga, kaya mo create yung function na yon, it does something specific in your application, no? Na hindi pwedeng i-declare as variable, halimbawa, no? Kasi, katulad ng mga gumagawa ng mga, halimbawa, sample natin application, no? Ang application ay inventory, no? So, doon sa inventory, may mga specific doon na function na kailangan gawin para naka-align siya doon sa application na inventory. No? Ayan. So, kaya napakaganda nung function na to kasi you can create, no? You can create function appropriate to your to the application you're going to create, no? And then, doon lang sa no, tandaan lang natin, if we create a function, doon sa declaration, no? Kasi pag hindi mo siya dineclare ng maayos, no, malilito yung yung computer na binabasa yung code, no? So, kailangan naka-declare na siya ahead. Dalawa yung paraan niya, no, na sinabi, isa prototyping or exactly what your yung isa what exactly your function does, no? Ayan. So, ituloy natin ito. Yan yung my parameters.
And in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to create a function that uses parameters. Now, a parameter is quite simply additional information that that function needs in order to work. So let me give you guys a quick example of this. Say you made a function to calculate the age of someone, how old they were. Well, some additional information you would need before you can calculate that is what year were they born. And once you have this information, you can calculate their age. So let's go ahead and now that we understand why a function would need additional information, let's go ahead and create a simple function to use additional information. So let's go ahead and create a function that just prints out Bucky's favorite number is blank. We might say Bucky's favorite number is 20. Bucky's favorite number is 68. Bucky's favorite number is 99. Well, since we don't know what my favorite number is yet, we're just going to go ahead and put a variable in place for that number. So since this isn't going to be making any calculations really, we can just go ahead and use void because that means return nothing. So name your function anything you want. I'm just going to name mine print crap since that's all it's going to do, print crap out on the screen. And before we just added these empty parentheses with nothing in between them, and then we coded the body right here. Well, whenever we use a parameter, you actually put that information right in your parentheses. And check this out. You know how I said we didn't know what that number is yet? And that's the additional information that we need. Well, since we don't know what it is yet, we just go ahead and we set it equal to a variable. And since this is an integer, we go ahead and set it equal to the variable int x. You can name your variable anything you want, but I'm going to name mine x because it's really simple, easy to work with. So now we can go ahead and we can add the body of this function. And all we're going to do in this function is print out on the screen Bucky's favorite number is, did I spell everything wrong? Yep, good to go. Bucky's favorite number is x. And then just go ahead and end that line. And now when our function runs, it's going to run something like this. If we say that our favorite number is 20, it's going to say Bucky's favorite number is 20. If we say that our favorite number is 10, Bucky's favorite number is 10. So we can run this function a bunch of times and give it a different piece of information each time, and it's going to work. So let's go ahead and remember, in order to use a function in your main, you just go ahead and you type the function name, and then you add your parentheses and your semicolon at the end. But whenever your function needs an additional piece of information, you need to give it that information inside the parentheses. So we know from making our function that it needs one integer in order to work. So let's go ahead and inside these parentheses, give it one integer, 20. So now what it's going to do is, well, let me go ahead and run this and show it to you guys. Bucky's favorite number is 20. Alright. So what happened is this. We said, alright, C++ program, we want to use this print crap method. Well, it said, alright, in order to use this method, I'm going to need one integer. So we gave it the integer 20. So then, whenever in this function it came across the variable x, it just substituted 20 for that. So whenever you're making parameters, you first need to list what type of data and also a variable name. So then, whenever we give it that variable, it substitutes that variable for x later on in the program. So, for example, let's give it one more example, like 854. Well, now we run it and it says, Bucky's favorite number is 854, and that's the beauty of parameters and functions. It doesn't need to be the same every time, so that's why you can use variables. So again, what we did is we created a function and it needed an additional piece of information, which was an integer. And since it didn't know the value yet, it just went ahead and it set it equal to a variable. Then later on in the body, whenever it came across that variable, it knew whatever value you told it to substitute for x, that's what value is substituted for x. So we can run this 100 times with 100 different values if we want. It's going to substitute it for x each time and use that information to plug it in. So that's the basics of how you use functions with parameter. Again, whenever you're creating a parameter, use the data type and a variable name, and whenever you're using the function, don't forget to pass in or give it whatever information it needs. So that's pretty cool, simple enough, we understand that. But in the next tutorial, what I'm going to be teaching you guys is how to use functions that use multiple parameters. What if a function needs more than one piece of information in order to work? Well, I'm going to show you guys how to do that too, and it's a little different than this, so you definitely want to watch that. So once you understand this and understand the basics behind functions and parameters, you're ready to move on to the next tutorial. So thank
Okay. So, ito naman, naglagay tayo ng parameter, no? So, dun sa loob ng parenthesis, no? Andyan yung parameter. Yung integer at saka yung x, no? So, dito, sini-out niya. Okay, meron tayong text dito. And then, yung x, kinol dito, no? So, kung ano yung interpretation na ilalagay sa x, dito sa print, ayan, print crop, no? Naglagay siya ng value dito. Yun yung palalabasin, no? Pagka nag-see out tayo, no? Doon sa pinakita kanina, no? So, ito yung lilitaw. So, CX, ayan yung value, no? Yung 854, no? So, yan yung paggamit ng parameters, no? Let's try something para ma-practice natin yan, no? I am going to put a code copy sa alam. Pwede, no? Anong oras mo ba kami i-call out? Ano? Yung ating taga-ano ng break. Anong oras yung break natin?
1:30 po, ma'am.
1:30. O, sige. Okay, meron akong, ayan, hindi ko na nalimutan yung ay, mali. Bakit napunta ako kay Sandino? Puti, hindi ko pinat. Sorry, sir. Okay, 1N. Naku, kung kanino ko sinisend yung code. Ayan. Hirap gumamit ng iMac. Nakakalito. Ayan. Okay, so may nilagay akong code. This is for function, no? Tawag tayo ng wait. Dito ako. Ayan, para makita ko. Ayan. Sige. Tawagin natin si Lacson. Lacson.
Wait lang po, ma'am. Open ko po yung
paki-pick up.
compiler ko po.
Paki-pick up yung code sa GC.
Wait lang po, ma'am.
Titingnan natin, tapos i-share mo yung natin, yung output sa screen. Mag-unshare ako.
Sige po.
Pagkatapos nito, magpa-practice tayo, ha? Ng function. Nasa hindi ko. Di pa tapos. Sige.
Sinasave ko pa po. Kasi nagloloko po yung code block ko pag nag-compile. Paulit-ulit lang po siya. Nag-loop
Bakit?
lang po.
Kailangan mong ayusin yan. Baka may update ka na kulang.
Try ko po sa DevC. Wait lang po.
Try mo sa online.
Online po, sige.
Teka. Meron ako doon sa, teka. Itong programming. Kailangan ko kasi yung ano.
Ito po.
Ayan o. Yung programming, copy. Lagay ko sa GC. Meron siyang online compiler nakasama.
Ayan, nakashare na po ba?
Okay, sandali ha. Hindi ako nakatingin. Ito yung online compiler. Ayan. Sige.
Ayan, i-paste ko na po.
Okay. Nag-output na siya. Okay. So, ang inilabas niya, enter first number.
See?
Okay.
Ayan,
Total is 5.
nag-add po.
Okay. So, yung ating function dito ay, sige nga, tingnan nyo nga kung alin ang function dyan. Alin? Ayan, ito, yan, yan, yung main sa taas. Yan, okay. Yung may katabing ano, andyan yung parameter eh. Ayan no, yung ano, yung parenthesis, no? Yan yung kumol dito sa int, no? Sa 20.
Oh.
So, ito yung simpleng ano lang, no? Yung simpleng example lang ito, no? So, yung int dito, ayan, andyan yung num20, num30, at saka yung total. Puro int lang yan lahat, no? Okay. And then, nag-see out tayo. Okay. And scene, no? In-store sa scene yung num20. Ayan. Nag-enter ng second number, see out. Nag-store do sa scene ng num30. Ito yung ating mga variable, no? And then, nag-see out tayo at kinol natin yung ating expression, no? Ano yung expression natin dito? Total. Total is equal to num30 plus num20. No? Kasi meron na, nakastore na dito sa scene, no? And then, nag-see out tayo ng total is 5, no? I-confirm niya na total is 5. Okay. And then total. Okay. I-run mo nga uli. Mag-ano tayo ng ibang value. Sige.
Sige po.
Try mo 4.
4.
And then 5. Total is 9.
9 po.
Total is 5. Parang mali ata yung nakalagay na total is 5. Baka walang total dyan. Ikaw talaga, may nilagay ba akong total? Oh, may nakalagay nga total
Nakalagay
is
po
5.
dun sa
Oo.
code.
Tama,
May 5 po.
mali lang yung pagkakaano niyan kasi text
Ayan
lang
po, tinanggal
siguro
ko po
yan.
yung 5.
Kasi bakit total is 5? 9 yung total. Kasi yung total kasi andyan na yung expression, 'di ba? Ayan May
Opo,
value na tayo ng Okay.
nag-input.
Alright. Sige. Ito. Gawa tayo. Ilalagay ko lang sa GC yung ating practice exercise. Ayan. Okay. Ilalagay ko na siya. Copy. So, ito yung ating exercise. Ayan. Okay. So, ito yung ating gagawin. Nakikita nyo ba sa GC class? Paki-open sa sa GC. So, nakalagay dyan para doon sa ating practice exercise dito sa function, no? Write a program that performs arithmetic division. Division, ha? The program will use two integers, A and B, obtained by user, and will perform division A divided by B, store the result in another integer, C, and show the result of the division using cout. In a similar way, extend the program to add, subtract, multiply, do modulo, and power using integers a and b. So, aside from the division, yung modulo, para meron tayong lumabas na kung may butal yung ating quotient, no? So, hindi lang siya division, add, subtract, multiply, no? Ayan. Modify your program so that when it starts, it asks the user which type of calculation it should do. Then ask for two integers, then run the user selected calculation. Outputs and result in a user-friendly formatted manner. Ayan. So, enter two numbers. Ito raw yung i-enter. Ayan. 312, the sum is 15. Ayan. Sample run lang siya, no? Kung yan ay addition. Ayan. Okay, so gawin natin yan. Okay, pwedeng may 15 minutes pa, no? Kaya naman sigurong matapos yan in 15 minutes. Kaya ba, class? Kaya niyo yan. Madali lang naman yung function. Okay. Yung iba nga baka tapos na. Kaya na nakatapos. Galing naman. Bilis-bilis. Okay. Okay. So, pwede yung pangalanan yung function, no? Kung yan ba ay ay, si Miss nagbibigay na ng code. Kung yan ba ay addition, ayan, pwede niyong gawin yun, no? O kaya kung yan ba ay subtraction, ayan, pwede siya gawing function. Ay, ako. Mag-refer kayo dun sa saan yung isa. Yung isang ginawa kanina, no? Yung sinample. Print something, ayan. So, pwede yung pangalanan yung ginagagawa sa inyo dito as function, no? Tingnan ko nga. Tingnan ko nga ang nila. Okay. Ulo ko. Paano dumiskarte itong mga to? I-share ko lang yung yung cheat sheet. At doon sa cheat sheet, may mga function doon. Teka. Cheat sheet ng C++. Tapos, ito. Kaya natin kung kaya. Declaration, statement, ito. Ayan o. Ito yung mga function, no, na pwedeng magamit. Int, void, inline, operator, extern, meron siyang explanation, no? F is a function. Ano pa lang tayo, ha? Doon pa lang sa mga simple parameter. Kasi doon sa, mamaya, pagka tutuloy natin yung ni Baki, meron siyang iba pang version ng parameters. No? Yung kasunod. Hanapin ko nga si Baki para dire-diretso lang yung kay Baki.
What's up, guys? Bucky here, and
C++. Ano ba yung nila? Label. Ako, wala na. Pang nasa, ano lang yan. Ano yung susunod doon? Bakit? Pas mo pinutol. Bakit? Pa na yung ano yun?
What is going on, guys? It is Bucky, and welcome to your
Ano kasunod nito? Ito pala. Ayan, ito. Okay. Nakita ko rin. Mamaya yan. Right. So, tingnan, balikan ko nga yung mga estudyante ko. Baka may nakatapos na. Alright, meron na ba nakatapos? Ah, si Eric, nakatapos na. Nagtaas na ng kamay. Ready ka na, Eric? Sige. O,
Ay,
ganito.
ma'am, bawat ano po ba yan? Bawat kasama po ba yung lahat po ng operators po, subtrahen yung minus, divide po, kasama, tsaka multiplication po ba?
Oo, nakalagay naman dun sa ano,
Ay,
diba?
wait
Hindi
lang
ka pa
pala,
tapos.
sorry ma'am.
Isa pa lang
Ulitin ko po.
natatapos mo. O, sige. Diretso mo lang. Sige. Ibig sabihin, meron ka na natapos na unang ano. Okay. Ay! Ulat ako. Hindi ako pala. Ano bang, naputol yung line ng thought ko. Ano nga ba sasabihin ko sa inyo? Ayan, okay. Yan, sasabihin ko na. Naalala ko na yung gusto ko sabihin. Sige. Last time, nag 10 points tayo. Sige, gagawin natin naman ngayon. 10 points pa rin, pero first 10. Ayan, para marami, no? First 10. So, first 10 points. Mga kasunod, yan. Sunod na lang na, na 5 points. Para marami. Okay. Bakit? Hindi paglaro sa'yo. Okay. Doon sa mga hindi pa naisip ko anong gagawin, ano? Yung ipinagagawa doon sa exercise, yun yung pwede nyong gamitin na function. Ayan. Yun ang clue. Binigyan ko ng clue, Huwag niyong kakalimutan, pagka nag-create in ng function, dapat naka-declare dun sa taas, no? Para hindi malito yung ating, no? Yung ating computer sa pagbabasa. So, tandaan lang natin, mula pataas, pababa yung pagbasa niya, no? So, kung ang na-declare niyo ng maaga, hindi siya malilito dun sa susunod na instruction sa baba. Alright. Marami pala siyang pwede rin ganon. Ba talaga pagka iba yung pwedeng gamitin.
Ma'am,
Yes.
question lang po. Pwede po ihiwalay yung code, ma'am? Or kailangan kasama po sa isang compilation po?
Anong ibig mo sabihin? Ibig mo
Parang
sabihin,
ihiwalay po,
merong
ma'am.
add, may...
Apo,
Okay naman.
ihiwalay.
Okay naman. Para hindi ka nalilito. Yung isa add, yung isa division, yung isa multiplication. Maganda yan. Magandang pag-ihiwa-hiwala yan. Para hindi siya nalimito. Sabi mo, wala kang trabaho. Ha? May trabaho ako. Ngayon nagtatrabaho ako. Wala ka. Hanggang alas 12. Alauna na eh. Hanggang alas 12 lang akong walang work. Mula alas 12 hanggang dire-diretso. Umaya ako bibili. Hindi naman, yung Mercury, pwede naman akong pumunta ng late. Kaya, hindi ako kasi alam kong late nagsasarado yung Mercury. Pagkatapos ng klase ka, saka ako pupunta ng nahe. Kaya okay lang yun. Hanggang alas 9 ang Mercury, kaya hindi ako natotorture. Hoy, 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 hoy! Ano yan, nanay? Yung ng cellphone mo, kagat-kagat. Andiyan ba yung cellphone? Ikaw talagang babae ka. Ewan ko, paano niya nakuha yan? Medyo 6 minutes. 6 minutes, magbe-break na tayo. Sige, tuloy niyo lang. Nasaan si sana nga yung ating taga-reminder na Gusto mo, i-diretso mo na ng break, tapos balik na ng 2 o'clock, no? Para makaano sila. Class. Nasaan si yung ating taga-reminder ng Pwede
Hello
mo na
po.
pag-breakin sila para dire-diretso.
Sige. Sige po. Break na daw po.
Balik kayo na ang kamo. Anong oras? Sige.
2 p.m. po. 2 p.m. daw.
Ayan. Sige. Para ma-refresh kayo. Function. Wag po. Kawawa naman po ako. Yeah. 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 Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Tingnan. Isa talagang babae ka. Paliguan kaya kita. Nung maligo. Takot yan eh. Ayaw maligo. Nay, kumain ka na? O, painumin kita ng gamot mo. Yung pananghalian. Nakakain ka na ng tanghalian? O, inom ka na ng gamot. Butit, mag-break na tong mga to. Mag-ano tayo ng gamot. O, dali. Akit ka. Inom ka ng gamot mo. Kung makakain ka na. Dali ko, dali. Dali. Ikaw kakain ka. Kainin mo yung pagkain mo. Bukin mo yan. Break naman sila. Ay, teka, ipopost ko lang yung video. Sayang, masyadong mahaba. Saan ba yun? Ay, ayaw mag-post. Wala ang problema pagka ito ayaw mag-post. Maglalagay ako ng para may naririnig.
Oregon, Idaho, North Carolina, and Kentucky, or as election experts collectively know them, boing. Now, it's Tuesday. Now, we taped this show early. Yeah. And that means we don't know the results yet. But by the time this airs, the victors will be celebrating, and the losers will be saying that they're the victors. Now, it's a particularly big day. Yeah? Yeah? How you feeling? Is it okay? It's a particularly big day for the GOP. The party is choosing its direction for 2022. Original recipe nutballs or extra crispy cojones? And cuckoo cojones. Nowhere is that competition tighter than the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, where the Republican Senate race is a battle royale between hedge fund executive and divorced dad vacationing alone, David McCormick, TV con man and funeral director flirtatiously asking, "Is this casket taken?" Dr. Mehmet Oz, and surprise latecomer, former radio talk show host and Christian ventriloquist with a faith-based dummy, Kathy Barnett. As of this week, McCormick's internal polling showed the candidates neck and neck and neck, with McCormick at 25% and Oz and Barnett tied at 24%. Of the three, Dr. Oz has the former president's backing, and last night he made sure to remind everyone of that.
President Trump said this, I think he was right and kind to say it, that I am smart, I am tough, and I will never let you down.
Because there is nothing more impressive than being called smart by a man who stared directly at an eclipse. But then, things got weird.
You never want to let your people down. So when you go to bed at night, put your head on that soft pillow. You know Oz will be doing exactly what you want him to do if you were there next to him.
What? That is the creepiest political promise since George H.W. Bush said this.
Kiss my lips. I give tongue.
Dr. Oz is making a big final push because Barnett has been surging the polls despite a long history of bigoted statements against gay people and Muslims. Or possibly because of that. And this weekend, she tried to defend her comments on Sunday Sunday Fox's funding.
The overwhelming majority of the tweets that are now being presented are not even full thought. They're not even full sentences.
See? She's a perfectly qualified candidate for U.S. Senate who cannot finish a sentence. It explains her campaign slogan, vote for... vote... Kinda. Barnett said it's important to remember that all these comments happened so long ago.
I can't provide a lot of context because, again, it's almost 10 years ago. That's how far they have to go back to try to find anything on me.
Okay, 10 years, but keep in mind, Kathy Barnett is a 50-year-old woman. That's like saying, look, we all say and do stupid things when we turn 40. It's that carefree 22nd summer after high school. And now to add insurrection to injury, this weekend several news sites confirmed that this right here is in fact Kathy Barnett marching on the Capitol on January 6th alongside the Proud Boys. So, she tried to overthrow an institution and now wants to work there? It's like holding up a bank saying, put the money in the bag. Also, it seems like a pretty good gig. Could I drop a resume off with you guys? By the way, how often do these robberies happen? Because this seems kind of scary. Now, for his part, the former president nervous that Barnett brand is calling will beat out his favorite grifter in his taking effect. Putting out this statement, Kathy Barnett will never be able to win the general election against the radical left Democrats. She has many things in her past which have not been properly explained or vetted, adding, but if she is able to do so, she will have a wonderful future in the Republican Party, and I will be behind her all the way. return. I, Gregory, too take Catherine to be my lawfully wedded wife, to love and cherish in sickness and in health, till death do us part. If any of those bridesmaids are interested, then I am BTF. Get it on. Speaking of deranged leaders, British Prime Minister and Muppet finding out where the ham goes, Boris Johnson. After more than 2 years of COVID work from home, Johnson is calling on Brits to come back to the office, explaining, my experience of working from home is spend an awful lot of time making another cup of coffee, and then, getting up, walking very slowly to the fridge, hacking off a small piece of cheese, then walking very slowly back to your laptop, then forgetting what it was you're doing. How, how short is Boris Johnson's attention span? Should we need to deploy nuclear missiles against our enemies in Huda? Don't mind if I do that. Now, what was I talking about? Promise. There's some good news about Russia, because there's bad news for Russia. Finland and Sweden have both signed off on their bids to join NATO. And Finland, I think that's right. That's right. Finland and Sweden are very serious about making this official. They each left a toothbrush in NATO thanks already. One of Russia's main goals in invading Ukraine was to weaken it. Now instead, the alliance is on the brink of starting its largest potential expansion in nearly 2 decades. How ironic. It's like that O. Henry story where the guy buys his wife homes from a pair, and she joins NATO. Russia should be worried about Finland joining Turkey. It would double the size of Russia's land border with NATO and entirely encircle its 3 ports on the Baltic Sea. And if Russia loses the Baltic, all NATO has to do is buy a Mediterranean Avenue. They can start putting up hotels. And then it's over, baby. $450. Fast go, because you're right there. Now, before the invasion, Putin said that any of Russia's neighbors joining NATO would be a red line for the country. But yesterday, Putin said Sweden and Finland joining NATO would cause no problem. Apparently, Russia is pushing military tactics from active aggression to passive aggression. Because no problem never means no problem. That's rule number 1 in dealing with dictators and mothers. Oh, you're not coming home for Christmas because you're going to Costa Rica with your girlfriend? No problem. Even though it might be the last Christmas where we're all here. Who knows? I could fall down the stairs tomorrow. Of course, you haven't given me any grandchildren yet, so I guess I won't be missing that much. But you go have a good time. I'll just sit here in the dark. It's no problem. But regardless, and it's fine. No problem. That's fine. Go ahead. But regardless of Putin's reaction, this is really complicated geopolitical shift, and especially for Sweden, who has maintained neutrality for over 2.5 years. Joining us now to break it down for us are Latest top Swedish experts. What, in your opinion, is Sweden saying about NATO membership? And what do you think Putin is going to say about that? By the way, while I got you, what's a good movie to watch? You're seeing Escape from Bad News. That's weird. I thought you were going to say, yeah, that one. So, in conclusion, thank you for that analysis. We got a great show for you. My guest is Ricky Gervais. He's going to be over there. But when we come back, I'll be over there with Meanwhile. Join us. What if something happens to me? Paano na sila?
For all of life's what ifs, BDO Life can help protect your dreams. It's good to always have a plan B. BDO Life.
Quote, white supremacy is a poison, end quote. That's what the President of the United States felt moved to say today. The kind of thing that in a different time, even relatively recently, say 10 years ago, might sound odd if you flipped on the news and heard that. But that's what President Biden said in Buffalo today because of what we're living through and what apparently it is necessary to say right now. After a racist massacre and the deadliest shooting of the year, the President met with the families of 10 people who were killed, allegedly targeted for their race and their race alone. Investigators diving into a trove of posts online written by this person who has been indicted for the shooting, a self-proclaimed white supremacist who adheres to replacement theory, something we have scrutinized and documented as a debunked conspiracy theory on this very program. As we pointed out to you, it is a conspiracy theory that surges in interest around two things. Mass shootings like this one, which have a shooter or alleged shooter who cites it, and when Tucker Carlson pushes it on his watch show on Fox News. The whole idea is that racial minorities from abroad, helped in some way by Jews in the United States, will take over and replace the rightful legacy, quote-unquote, white class.
Hate through the media and politics, the internet, has radicalized, angry, alienated, lost, and isolated individuals into falsely believing that they will be replaced, that's the word, replaced, by the other, by people who don't look like them. We call them all Americans, reject them. I condemn those who spread the lie for power, political gain, and for profit.
The president makes an important point there in a distinction. Racism and anti-Semitism are very old. Most people know that. There are different ways to whip it up, and there are plenty of people, including entire societies, that hurt each other, themselves, and everyone by believing in those kinds of hate ideologies. That's the old stuff. Then you have the new stuff, which is the business model, the profit, the people who run the companies and websites, and they do this for money, and they do it regardless of any other reasoning. They certainly do it often knowing that it's false. Tucker Carlson has done many other jobs where he claimed to have other views. He used to host This Hour on MSNBC. A little bit of news trivia there. But now Tucker Carlson pushes this crap. In fact, he's done it over 400 times since 2016, according to a count by the New York Times. And this person indicted for the mass murder referred to replacement theory 28 times in the very rant that he posted right before the attack. So that's a fact that you have to deal with. If you watch this program, you may know we are very careful about facts and about causality. I said yesterday, and I'll say again right now, no causation has been established between this environment, between what has been on Fox News and this particular shooter, although Fox and he are pushing the same crap. But if you watch Fox, you wouldn't even know there was any potential overlap at all. Fox hosts mostly avoiding acknowledging this fact in any way during the deadliest shooting of the year.
So what is hate speech? Well, it's speech that our leaders hate. So because a mentally ill teenager murdered strangers, you cannot be allowed to express your political views out loud. That's what they're telling you. After the shooting, it took Democrats just 3 hours to start blaming Republicans and conservatives and talk show hosts and Fox News.
Their new motto seems to be, if you can't beat them, use your corporate shills to censor it. The justification is always some horrific shooting or a protest that goes wrong.
In the final clip there, you see on the screen a bunch of news organizations. Of course, again, responsible people reporting on the facts of this are not even trying to claim causality, which, by the way, investigators look at that kind of thing, and that's a much more complex process. But if you watch Fox, all you would know is that this replacement theory is being mainlined, presented to you as something less than its hateful, racist, anti-Semitic actual reality, and then it would be somehow elided from what's motivated the shooters, I should say the alleged shooter, according to his own screen. And then, to top it all off, there's another rant about supposed censorship. Meanwhile, today, if you did watch Fox, they haven't slowed down the references that come up when they want to weave in this debunked theory.
It's not just that the Biden administration and Democrats don't have a plan. The plan is not to have a plan. The plan is that the optics might look not great for them right now. They might take a hit in the midterm. They don't care. These are future voters. They want to bring in as many as possible, change the voting rules and regulations, provide amnesty, and get these people voting.
That is a version of the replacement theory, as I mentioned, for an anti-immigrant creed. It is also an immigrant idea, quote unquote, because it comes out of right-wing France, comes out of the castle. We did that reporting last night. It also comes out of a fear, but mostly it's built on hate and lies. This is a country of immigrants. You've heard that before. It's become cliche. This is a country where people come in, and over time, if they come in legally, they do become citizens. What that contributor to Fox just said, what you just heard described as some sort of terrible scare tactic, is literally the originalist rule of law of this nation, where citizenship is based on participating in the rule of law legally, not based on your identity. For a movement that claims to be against identity politics, among other things, it is the height of hypocrisy. We're joined now by someone who used to run the Republican National Committee to back Joe Biden in the last election, Michael Steele. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, buddy, good to see you.
Good to have you. When you look at what we just saw there, a kind of a classic guilty defensive 1-2 punch of trying to hide or lie about the part that is basically indefensible. I mean, they really don't want to talk about the fact that there's that overlap. Again, I didn't say causality, but that overlap. And then two, going right back at it and telling everyone, if you look a certain way, you should be afraid of these other people who look a different way. And we're going to lie you into fear, and then they're going to claim they're not the ones playing hate, racial identity politics.
Well, it's all such claptrap. It's just a bunch of noise, and they know it. And the fact of the matter is, the ancestors of those individuals did exactly what they think, was happening to them. Their ancestors came in and replaced the Native Americans. And so that's history, that's fact, we know that. So this we are the owners of this land is a bunch of malarkey, and everyone knows it. Everyone's come to accept what this land means to each generation, each successive generation of Americans and immigrants who want to be Americans, and immigrants who want to hold on to their native land but have a little piece of America too. And yes, those who come here because of the trials and pressures and dangers of their homeland. So we've always embraced that. These very same Republicans at Fox know damn well what that journey has been like, and also know that Republicans for generations were advocates for that self-same journey, that recognized the power of the immigrant story, that embraced that in a way that, yeah, we wanted accountability for those who came in illegally and sort of get back in the line and do it the right way, but also not demonizing every immigrant, every migrant, everyone who comes here who isn't white. That has never been the narrative. And yet now it is in full-throated voice. So it's a little bit disingenuous for sure, but we're used to the song. We've heard it so many times before. We know how the lyrics go. We know how it ends when it's over. And the reality of it is it points out why elections matter and why tonight, like many nights now and in the future, will matter. If Americans want to change that claptrap, that noise, from that hard, ugly right, then you need to put in some people who are not going to succumb to it and promote it.
Hey guys, real quick, let me give you a tip on Udemy. It's an amazing place. can learn just about anything from the comfort of your own laptop, iPhone, Android, or whatever. Right now they're having...
Happy primary day and election day. Welcome back, James.
Well, thank you, Alex. It's good to be back.
You're a Republican in Pennsylvania, and not in that ballroom with Napolitano. You're pretty unhappy because let's say in the midterms of this year, 2022, that you thought you had a real chance of taking. It's been the Democratic Governor Tom Wolf, for 2 terms now, and particularly you look ahead to 2024, nobody's been with the president in Pennsylvania. Suddenly, the odds are much better than the Democrat appointed Secretary of State decides over the election. So Republicans cannot be happy if it were Lou Barletta, former Congressman, still appointing the U.S. Attorney, who incidentally Trump did an anti-work because he did not fight hard enough after the 2020 election. You got to be pretty unhappy. This is the last person who wanted to be taken on.
Lou Barletta, who was more electable, came out this weekend and said Trump did his 11-hour came out and said, we're about that. And that was the where's the loyalty?
Right.
Barletta was one of the first
Okay.
people to endorse
Everybody back.
Donald Trump. He has been out there for him. Perhaps, he wasn't on
Ito na si
at the
Lee.
January 6th rally or leading a group there. But,
Ito na sa
if you would have thought
Lee.
if Donald Trump had ended
O,
Yes,
dali,
po.
tawagin mo na sila.
it would have been
Balik
Lou
na kamo.
Sige po.
Well, that's why he did it. All they
He
did
took out odds insurance. He
back
began
by
to
now.
worry about whether Dr. Oz could get over the finish line. He wanted a winner. Mastriano looks like he was going to win, so he threw Barletta overboard. Correct.
35. Oh, yeah. Everybody's here na. Talagang hindi na bumalik yung no? Ina-expect natin na 5. Cedric? Mukhang hindi na, no? Kasi kalahati na eh. Paano na lang ng attendance mamaya para alam ko kung sino yung no? Okay. Alright, so since nagbali ka na kayo, ayan, pakitaas na yung mga kamay nyo para sunod-sunod na natin tatawagin, no? So, eto yung ating first step. Ayan. So, nangunguna si Cedric. Susundan ni Carl. Tapos si Eric. And then si Ian. Si Lance. John Lloyd. Althea. Butch, Angel, and Pamela. Pam, ikaw yung pang-10. So, pagkatapos pababa, mula kay Angelica, ayan, puro na 5 points yan. Pero at least, marami tayong 10-pointer ngayon, ano? Okay, simulan na natin, Cedric. Naka-unshare na ako. Pwede mo nang i-share yung iyong gawa.
Bali, mga ginawa ko po, pinag-iwalay-iwalay ko po. Bali, ito yung addition, ito yung sa subtraction, ito yung multiplication, kasi ito yung sa division. So, yan po, yung function po. Tapos yung x and y po, yun po yung variable ko po. Tapos sa loob po ng parenthesis, nagay ko po yung x and y para po dito po. And tapos, nagkumatin po ng return para po bumalik po din sa integer po na x and y. So, pag-i-rarap naman po siya. Enter your first now. Marit 2 and tsaka 2. Bali, ay nalabas po yung sagot. The sum of 2 and 2.
That's nice. So, hiwa-hiwalay sila.
Ito naman po sa subtraction po. Ganun din po yung ginawa ko. Pinalitan ko lang po yung operation. Marit po 6 tapos 1. Difference of 6 and 1 is 5. Ayan. As dito naman po sa multiplication. Marit 6 tapos ayun po. Product of 6 and 9 is 50. And last po sa division naman po, instead na integer po nilagay ko, double po since may times po na nagde-decimal po siya. Depende po sa for example,
kaya dinouble mo.
The quotient of 9 and 3 is 3.
May 3. Okay.
Nang po. Thank you po.
Looks good. Looks good. Alright. Thank you. So, ikaw yung nauna. First 10 points. Congrats. Okay. Alright, next, si Carl. Marte.
Wait lang po.
Sige.
Yan, kita na po ba?
Pwede mo
Sa
na
akin
ng
po
konti.
pa.
Teka. Wala lang, le. Tingnan natin.
Yan lang.
Hindi ako nakasalamin eh. Ayan, nakikita ko na. Sige.
Itatanong, kailangan po itanong kung an operator po. So, pag plus po,
Aha! Sabay-sabay lahat.
Cheers to 35 years.
and 15.
We promise to keep giving you our best, so we can always give yours.
Right.
Nice! Okay, ibang style naman yun sa kanya. Okay, good job.
Ganyan po.
Teka, bago ka mag-ano ng another. Gusto ko makita yung ano mo. Dali lang,
Yung
ako lang
code
yung
po.
code mo kung paano mo ginawa.
Ganyan po. Nag-switch po ako.
Nag-switch
Bawat
ka?
case po.
So may mga cases ka. Okay. Pwede. Tapos nag-see out ka. At ibaba mo. At hindi, taas mo pala para makita kayo nasa taas. Okay. Right. Okay. Looks good. Oh, not bad. Okay, next switch. Hindi pa tayo maabot doon sa switch. May switch na. Pero may switch na rin naman kasi sa C. Pareho lang sila doon sa
Ako, tinuro na po sa amin nung
It's the same it's the same procedure kahit sa C++. Hindi sila nabago. Okay. Eric. Thank you, Carl.
I think it's tough. Josh Shapiro is an incredibly competent candidate. And I think Mastriano, listen, this is Pennsylvania is historically kind of purple.
So yun po ma'am, ganun din po, pinag-iwalay ko po. Sa division po muna, and then ilagyan ko po ng double so para maglalabas po na may decimal po din. And ayan po yung lumabas po. And then sa multiplication naman din po
Pareho kayo
is
ng style ni
Apo, para
ni
hindi po
Cedric, ni Justin.
nakakaano po. And tas sa addition din naman po is sa
Yung may
subtraction po.
yung may butal. Yung may butal para makita natin kung lilitaw yung division? Division, tama. O, sige.
Voted to convict Trump for his role. And he knew that the basic president
Lumabas.
That's fine, but I also think
May
that
quotient siya, pero 8 point something to dapat.
Opo, ma'am.
Capitol in the middle of a ceremony. And now he's
Nasa division ka ba? Saan naka-double naman siya?
Opo, ma'am.
Now,
Whole number, divide. Titingnan ko eh.
That's an extraordinary politician.
Naka-set ka naman sa double. Double is, can represent decimal.
Opo.
Teka lang. Ano nilagay mo doon? 24 eh. Dapat may 1, diba? Kasi 25, tsaka 3. 8 times 3 is 24. So may isa dapat dyan, 0.1. Tama? Yun ang intindi ko kasi 25, 24, may isang butal. Saan napunta yung isa? Saan natin yung mo? Divide. Teka, lagay mo dito. Titingnan ko yung ba't lumilitaw yung
And I want to ask you, what goes
divide
on?
to into
I mean, obviously, a mass shooter is responsible for the violence
divide
and the
to
heinous acts that
naka-double.
the mass shooter
Tapos,
committed.
sa divide
It is
to nandun
also
siya sa
true that the
quotient.
ideology left
Tinawag
in
mo
the
siya
mass
doon.
shooter's
Tama naman.
screed mirrors the
So,
ideology championed by Tucker Carlson. What happens at Fox News when something like this happens?
Ano tong period dun sa dulo?
It's partly why I ended up
Ma'am,
getting
parang
out
ano
of
na po, dulo, ito
it.
po yun,
It
yung
really
sa
is
ikaw
kind
po.
of
Dulo
horrible
na
to
siya.
think that
Apo.
journalists with national and
Ah, yes.
international capacity
Just lang
are
po.
putting
Yes.
together this type of nonsense.
Para
I think the
po,
president did a great job. I
suggestion
wish
lang
he
po,
had done
para
a
po
lot of this
lumabas
a
po
lot
yung
sooner.
point,
We need a lot more
pa-double natin po yung
from
info dun sa
the
dividend
left
po na
and the
nakalagay.
middle. And we got to watch out because the Republicans
Ulit,
have become
hindi ko
the
narinig yung dulo,
purveyors of
kumidlat,
misinformation.
sumabay.
And
Paano
when
po?
our
Double
two-party system is
po yung
broken like
ano,
that,
in the
democracy is seriously in trouble. The
Ah,
president
doon sa ano, dapat
acknowledged
nakalagay
that.
ka din.
It's time to actually start doing
Double
things and maybe
din.
taking some names and putting people in jail.
Sige.
Yun.
Ayun.
Wow.
Yun naman pala eh. No, salamat sa
What
suggestion. Ang galing-galing
I think
naman.
just touched on
Teka,
maybe
bibigyan natin ng
inadvertently
points yan.
is
Sino
that
yun?
where the
Sino yun?
mainstream of America is frankly where President Biden was today,
Sino?
saying that white supremacy
Ala.
is
Lance
poison
po
on
pa.
our
Lance.
politics.
O ayan, Lance ha. Nakaano yan ha.
Explain then how
Naka-record.
Tucker
Naka-record
Carlson has
tayo.
so many
Kaya
viewers,
pointed
because
yan.
he's not
Okay,
in the
thank you,
mainstream of the body
Lance.
politic. I mean, what he
O ayan.
espouses is the fringe of the fringe.
It's a subtraction.
I really can't
Subtraction.
channel how Tucker believes in any of this stuff and how the network can go through with it. I
And
will
po,
say
may
this,
dinagdag
however,
po ako dito
it
yung
is
about
very
sa
clear
modulo po yung
that
which
this
is
type
yung
of
kinukuha naman po yung remainder.
Mhm.
Like kanina po is, katulad po kanina is 25 divided by P. Then ayun, the remainder is 1. Yun lang po ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Ay. Ah. Talaga. Huwag mong ngat-ngatin. Mamaya sisirain mo na naman yung nalagyan mo eh. Tatangnan yan eh, mawawala. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, next. Salamat ng marami. Eric. Ayan. Okay, next. Si Ian. Ian
Hello po.
Jester.
Share ka lang, ma'am.
Huwag muna kayong aalis doon sa ano ha, sa taas ng kamay. Mamaya na pagka natapos tayo. Para
Kita niyo na po,
hindi
ma'am.
tayo mababago ng ano, pagkakasunod-sunod.
Kita nyo na po, ma'am.
Yes.
Ayan po yung code ko. Bale, pinagsama ko na lang po sa isang ano. Gumamit po ako ng if-else na statement para ano po, ano po. Kung gusto niyo po, addition, subtraction, multiplication. Mga iba't ibang operation po. Ayun po. Run ko lang.
Pwede na ipasok. Sige, run mo nga.
Like, let's say, ano po.
Tapos nag-ano ka pa
Ano
ng
ba yun?
calculator.
Example, 3, 12. Like, ganyan po ilalabas. What operation do you want to use? Like, let's say, ano po, 1. Para po sa addition.
Okay.
Yun po. 3 plus 12 is 15.
Okay.
Tapos, for different, ano po, action. Yun po. Negative na yun. Kasi ano, nasa dulo yung ano ba to? Divisor. Ay, ano, subtractor.
Try
Tapos
natin
ano po?
yung ano, yung division. Tingnan natin kung paano ko palalabasin.
Sige po. Ayan po. 4.
Ay,
Ay, gusto niyo po ibang ano?
yung may ano,
Ibang number po.
yung may remainder para ano.
Actually, wala po atang remainder na lalabas kasi po ano eh. Ano po ba tawag ganun? Naka-int po ako eh.
Naka-int.
Gusto niyo po ba i-double?
Sige, try mga kung ano. Yun lang sa modulo lang.
Modulo? Nakahiwalay po yung sa modulo.
Sige, try
only.
mo. Try mo yung modulo.
Ito po, 5.
Tingnan natin kung ano.
Like, 2 po kasi ano, di ba? Like, 5 times 2 is 10. Tapos ano, may natirang 2.
So, may natirang 2.
Yes po.
Okay. Okay.
Tapos, power po.
Sige, power.
Say 2, 3, 6 power. Ayan po. 2,
Ulit.
ayan,
2 times 2
Ayan.
times 2 times 2. 8.
yes po. 2 raised to 3 is 8.
4
Tapos
times
ano
2,
po?
8. Correct. Okay.
Kapag ano, pag wala po yung number dun, yung like 8. Ayan po, invalid input sabihin. Try again.
Nice.
Yan lang po, ma'am. Yan lang po lahat ng ano ko.
Ayos,
Code.
ayos din yan. Magandang representation din yan, no? Ibang way ng
Thank you po.
Okay. Alright. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Next naman, si Lance. Si Lance, may extra points pa kanina. pinagsama-sama niya. Okay, sige. Doon lahat, declare niya nasa taas. Okay. Enter first integer. Isang output. Aha. Okay. Paano Lance pagka merong remainder? Dun sa sa code.
Alin po,
Ay,
ma'am?
may 1.25 ka na. Ayun. No, nakita ko na. Sorry. Nakita ko
Ito
na yung
po.
Meron na,
Okay
meron
na
na
po.
siya. Nakaano na siya. Patingin nga nung code. Sige, sarado mo na yan. Nakita ko na yung output. Ayan. Okay. Dun sa baba. Ay, dun sa 1. Dun sa taas. Hindi. Taas mo. Yan. So, gamit ka ng string. Tapos, nag-double ka. Tapos, ito yung divide to. Yung iyong
Opo.
Function. Add to. Subtract to. Multiply to. Oh, yan. Yan ang mga function. Alright. And then, ayan. Good. Ibang strategy. Okay, thank you.
Okay na po.
Okay na, salamat. Tinignan ko lang yung code. Salamat,
Thank you po.
Lance. Ayan, next, si John Lloyd. Nasaan na si John Lloyd? Opo. Naka-mobile si John Lloyd. Nagat ako ng lamok. Okay. Oh.
Pinagsama ko na sila.
Ayan. Nagawa ka ng dyan, ng representation ng Okay. Sige. Sample natin. Kuya, mali yung spelling mo ng multiplication.
Ay. Oo.
Kulang. Kulang lang naman.
Ayan po.
Anuhin mo lang siya. Mali pa rin.
Sige, okay na.
Ngunit, ang problema. Pero, siyempre, for purposes of tingnan ko yung code. Tapos mo yung code. Ayan. Okay, baba. Sinet up mo na siya ng ganon. Okay. Tapos, okay. Alright. Looks good.
Thank you po.
Okay, thank you. Next, si Althea, yung ating pang-pito.
Hello po, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, dalawa po yung ginawa kong method.
Sige.
Ito po yung... Ito po yung una. Pinagsama-sama ko po.
Okay. Ayan. Good. Sige. Try natin.
Ito po yung...
One time. Isang no?
Opo.
Paano yung approach mo dun sa quotient? Wala siyang
Ano po?
Kasi
Opo.
Naka-int kasi siya. Tama ba?
Opo.
Naka-int. Hindi siya naka-double or naka-float. Okay lang. Sige, pwede naman yan.
Tapos ito po yung isa.
Tapos yung isa.
Lang. Ito po. Tapos mamimili po yung user ng Ayan.
Mamimili kung ano yung gagawing calculation.
Opo.
kung mag-divide ba siya or what. So, yun
Opo.
siya yung naging choices na activity. Okay. Alright.
Opo. Thank you po.
Problema, ayos din lang yan. Okay, thank you, Althea. Next, si Butch.
Share screen lang po ako.
Sige.
Kita na po yung screen ko.
Yeah?
So ito po yung approach na ginawa ko. Bali, yung una po, gumamit po ako ng include IOStream po using namespace. Tapos, nag-try po akong gumamit ng void wherein yung variable is print name po. Then, dito ko po nilagay yung int x, int y, tas float c po. Wherein sa float c po, dito po lalabas yung value ng, ng quotient na itong numbers x, ay value x na and y po. So, naglagay lang po ako ng comment na function since wala po ako maisip. So, sa int main, naglagay po ako ng cout dito wherein para ma-output niya po yung enter two numbers, then int x, so ito po yun. Kinol ko lang po, wherein cout first number, so ito po yung first number ko, yung x. Then, naglagay po ako ng input po, wherein mag-input po ng value si user po, wherein i-store po yun sa value ng x. Then, same po sa y. So, ito po yung So, ito po yung sa may float c ko po. Ewan ko kung bakit di po siya nagkakaroon ng decimal since naka-float c naman po yung ginawa ko. So, nevertheless po, titignan ko na lang din po mamaya. So, ito po yung mga iba ko pa pong variable wherein char operation, sum. So, may switch case din po ako dito. Since wala po akong maisip. Tinry ko po kasi siya sa else or if else statement po. Pero hindi po siya nag-work. Pero try ko pa pong ayusin. So, ito po yung
given the time,
po. Lang po. Ko lang po ito. So, ayun po. So, nag-ask yung ng enter two numbers wherein nagpa-enter po ng first number. So, example is 12. Then, second number po is, so, sabihin natin 5. So, lumabas po yung quotient niya is 2. Yun nga po yung problem ko. Hindi po siya nagkakaroon ng decimal po. So, currently working pa po ako sa process po na yun. So, choose your operator po. Ito po yung sa may switch case wherein pag nilagay ko po itong plus operation, automatic po na magkakalculate po yung sum po ng two numbers wherein 12 and 5 is 12 plus 5 is 17.
So, in essence, meron kang ginawang dalawang operation. Yung isa, quotient. Yung isa, yung choice.
Yes po.
Yun naintindi ko dyan sa mo, sa code.
Po, yan. Okay. Bali, inuna ko po muna yung gaya po sa instruction. Ipapalabasin po muna yung value ng quotient, then tsaka po siya mag-a-ask kung ano po yung operation na isusunod po niya na kailangan computin po. So, yun lang. Thank you.
Sige, tingnan mo muna yun doon sa
Po.
Kung bakit hindi naglilitaw doon sa next, si Angel.
Hello po, ma'am. Rinig na po. Kung magpe-present lang po. Ayan po, ma'am. Kita na po.
Yes.
Po, ma'am. Run ko lang po.
Gumamit siya ng switch case.
So, ayan po. Una po, magtatanong po siya sa user kung ano pong operation po unang gagawin. So, kunyari po, pili po tayo, like, first po, subtraction. Enter po tayo ng two numbers. And ayun po yung total. And din po, pag sa ibang operation, try naman po natin yung sa merge. Run ko lang po ulit. Nine po. Ayan po yung remainder na po.
Okay.
Pag division naman po,
kulit nung abas mo.
Kaya nga po. Hindi siya na ano po yan.
Ako pag may klase, tina-turn off ko yung ano eh. Kasi, hinahatak ng antivirus yung ano eh. Lalo na pagka nagiging exe file.
Kaya, turn up ko yung pangayon. Ma'am, okay na po. Thank you po.
Okay. Baba mo nga ng konti. Teka na. Balik.
I'm sorry po.
Balik. Gusto ko makita yung code pababa.
Sige po. And,
Okay, baba pa. Okay. Alright.
nagdagdag ko po case for modulo.
Okay. Yung approach mo. Alright. Sige,
Thank you
thank
po.
you. Pam. Next. Meron bang umalis? Parang naaalala
ma'am.
ko si Angelica ay ano, siya yung huli sa 5. May nawala dito sa ano, sa first 10. Sino yung nawala? Pam, naalala mo ba kung sinong kasunod mo?
Ma'am, hindi po.
Hindi mo naalala?
Hindi ko po nakita.
Angelica, di ba ikaw yung ano, start ng 5?
Yes po, ma'am.
Oh, sino yung nasa in between? Sabi ko, huwag mo nang umalis kasi hindi ko matatandaan. Yan yung ano ko eh. Ngayon namin naging pang number 10 ka. Sino yung nawala? Kasi 34 tayo, 35. May nawalang isa. Baka nadali ng ano, ng walang internet. O sige, Pam.
Sige po. Nakikita na po yung screen. Ayan. So, ito po yung code ko. Bale, ito po gawa na po ako ng function dito. Inuna ko po siya. And then, saka po sinimulan yung main function. Nag-initialize lang po ako ng few variables. And then, gumawa po ako ng menu. Nilabel ko po siya dito para later pwede pong mag-go to yung user dun sa menu. Para pwede po siyang gumawa ng isa pang calculation. Tapos, nandito po addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo, and then exit. Tapos, sasagutin niya lang po kung anong function yung gusto niyang i-perform. And then, naglagay po ako ng switch case. Pag pinili niya po yung addition, ito po. Tapos, i-call niya lang po yung function na nilagay ko kanina. And then, case 2, case 3, so on po. So, ayan po. Ito po yung output. So, ayan po. So, for example, simulan po muna natin sa addition. Ayan. So, 2, 3, tapos, ito po yung sagot. Tapos, automatic na po siyang mag-go to ulit sa menu just in case na gusto pa pong gumawa ulit ni user. Pero kapag ayaw niya na po, pwede niya naman po ilagay na exit. Pero, try po natin yung subtraction naman. Okay, 5 plus 4, 1. Tapos, try natin yung multiplication. Ayan. Ito po. Ayaw bumaba. Ayan. 3 plus 4.
Para hindi laging ano isasarado tapos simulan ng ano.
Yes.
Oh, yan. Oh, guys, yung strategy niya, no?
Tapos, man po natin yung picture.
Maglagay siya ng menu.
Ayan. So, kunwari 25 divided by 5. Ayan. Quotient ay 5. Tapos, lalabas ulit yung menu. Tapos, try naman po natin yung modulo. So, same din po yung lumalabas. Even though, wala din pong float or decimal na lumalabas sa akin. Hindi ko lang po sure why. So, natin 5, modulo 2. So, remainder daw po ay 1. Tapos, pwede na po natin siyang i-exit. Tapos, lalabas lang po yung text na, thank you for using my program, then mag-exit na po. Hindi ko lang po sure kung bakit dun sa modulo is nag-ano siya. Hindi po lumalabas yung decimal. Kahit na dinoble ko naman na po dito. Tapos dito rin. Tinry ko pong gawin double yung A tsaka B. Pero sabi po, hindi daw po nagagamit yung modulo for anything other than integer po. So, yun po.
Alam ko dun eh. Kaya ganun.
Ayan lang po.
Sige.
Thank you
Cover
po.
muna natin. Okay. So, ayan, balik tayo dun sa problema natin. Ang natatandaan ko talaga si Angelica yung ano, Sino yung nawala na ano, dapat may 10 points sa inyo? Magsabi na. Kasi sayang din yun. Sino class? Sinong nawala?
Si John Lloyd po yata,
Si
ma'am.
John Lloyd.
Opo.
Oo nga, ito si John Lloyd. Ayan. O kasi John Lloyd. O anyway, I think nasa ano na tayo. Tama na yung ano natin. Kasi, oo nga, nawala si John Lloyd dito. Ayan. O sige. So, mula kay Angelica, 5 points. Di bale, naka-record na naman. O ayan, Angelica, ikaw na next. Tapos na si Pam.
Hello po, ma'am. Nakikita na po ba?
Yes. Okay.
So, ayun po. Gumamit po ako ng switch, ma'am. And then, una niya pong tatanungin sa'yo kung ano pong function yung gusto mo pong gamitin. So, halimbawa po sa addition, kapag nag-select po ng dalawang numbers, ayan po. And then, pag-subtraction naman po, division.
Ayun, meron siyang ano, decimal.
Opo. And then, sa multiplication po.
Alright. Okay.
Ayun lang po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you, Tokayo.
Thank you po,
din
ma'am.
ako eh. Next, si Mai. Kayla. Miss Kapanay.
Kayla daw po, mahina yung signal. Kaya isusod niya na lang daw po sa GC.
Ano daw?
Mahina daw po yung signal sa internet nila. Kaya isusod niya na lang daw po sa GC.
Okay. So, sa GC. Sige, mamaya tingnan natin. Yung next muna, si Lorenzo. Nadali ng ano, ng ulan. Humina yung signal. Kuday. Baka nga yung isang nawala nawalan ng signal.
Ginawa ko po switch statement din po na calculator na nasa isang file lang po lang. So, bale, operation division. Ano? May division tas may remainder sa
may remainder siya. Okay.
Okay.
Gusto kong makita yung may invalid operator.
Sige po. Hindi ko po na-type kasi hindi ko na po napaganda. Pero kapag po hindi plus, minus, multiply, tsaka division, naglagay ko po ng 7. Tapos mag-enter pa rin po siya pero hindi po mag-equals kasi hindi po operation yung binigay niya sa umpisa. Yan lang mo.
Okay. Alright. Thank you.
Welcome.
Dali lang I-share ko lang yung para meron tayong reference. Sa GC, yung mga naging solution, no? Total, andun si, kung nailagay na ni sino nga yung, nawala? Hindi natin natawag. Ito si Kayla. Ito yung kay Kayla. Teka lang, ilalagay ko muna yung dito. Total, nandyan si Kayla. So, I have 3 ways. Actually, there are 4 ways pare-pareho tayo. Pero unahin ko na yung may fraction, no? Share ko lang yung una. Ayan. Copy. Total, nandyan yung kay Kayla. Ayan. So, ito yung unang solution. Tapos, eto yung pangalawa. Okay, copy. And, bago tayo sumunod kay Princess Denise, pakita ko lang yung dalawang solution. Okay. Total, nandyan na si Kayla sa, sa GC. I-share ko lang, class, ha? Bago tayo mag-move kay, kay, ito na yung, alis ka dyan. Alay. Oh. Nakapresent nga ako eh. So, saan ba yung hindi ko makita. Sige, maglagay na lang tayo ng baba natin to. Okay, Messenger. Yan. Alright, so ito yung kay Kyla. Ayan, mahina raw yung kanilang So ito yung gawa niya. Okay. So, ayan. Alright. Pwede. Okay. Tapos ito yung output niya. Ayan. Kung sa division, meron siyang quotient note niya. Ayun. So, ganun. Lumitaw yung niya, no? Ayan. Ito sa quotient. Ito sa division. 2.13. Okay. Alright. So, ito naman yung solution na dalawa dito sa natin. So, naglagay ng function yung add to. Ayan. So, nag-enter ng number. Ayan. So, halos pareho rin lang ng gawa ninyo. Tapos, ito yung isa, get sum. So, meron tayong dalawang int, para dun sa entry, no? num1, num2. Ayan. So, halos pareho rin lang ng strategy nyo. Meron pang meron pang dalawa. Mamaya ko na lang papakita. Okay, balik tayo. Balikan natin si Denise. Denise, ikaw naman ang mag-share.
Wait lang, ma'am. Kita na po ba?
Yes.
Yung sa akin po, ma'am, hiniwalay ko po siya. So, merong addition, subtraction, multiplication, and yung division. So, pag subtraction, ma'am, so, 6 po. Then, the second number is 3. Then, 9 po yung answer.
Okay.
Then, same goes with, other operators.
Parang katulad nung kay Justin dun sa taas kanina.
Yes po, ma'am.
Sige.
Ganun din. Subtraction, ma'am. 6, then 3 din. So, 3 yung sagot. Then, for the multiplication, din po. Then, sa division, ma'am, ginamit ko po yung double, ma'am. Para po, sample, ma'am, 10 saka 3. So, meron po siyang
meron siyang
point.
Decimal places.
Yes po.
Okay. Alright. Thank you, Denise. Si Princess Denise. Ayan. Next, si Nathaniel. Ayan. Maganda to. Mayroon siyang So, kung malaman yung kung paano mo ginawa yung baba mo nga ng konti bago ka mag-enter dyan. Sandali. Gusto ko makita kung paano mo nilagay. So, nag-see out ka ng error. Tapos, yung niya sa error, sige, sa baba. Yung kababaan. So, out lang siya. Yun. Okay. Sige. Okay, and then, ayan, so, alright, and then yung isa, yung next, okay, difference, and then yung multiplication. Okay. And then yung division. Tapos yung error invalid, magano ka ha? Sige. Division. Okay. So, mali ang input. Okay. Alright. Okay. Sakto yung sakto yung dinivide niya. Pero, paano pagka may makakapag ka ba ng decimal? May decimal. Kasi sakto yun 90 divided mo siya sa 10. Sakto na okay. Alright. Okay, na-gets ko. Ayun, meron. Okay. Meron naman pala eh. Kasi kanina, 90, tapos divided by 10, 9 talaga sakto. Kasi wala siyang butal. Ayan. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Nat. Good job. Next, si Joshua. Nathaniel din ito.
Hello po. Share screen po.
Yes.
Kita na po ba?
Ayan, meron nga.
So, yung una ko pong ginawa is yung kinompile ko lang po yung 4, which is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So, nasa isang file po siya. And with functions na rin po. So, let's try po. So, please enter to figure 15 and 4. So, lumabas po yung 4 na results. And, hiniwalay ko naman po yung modulo kasi naglalaro po dito. And yung power po. So, let's try po yung modulo. So, gawin na rin po natin 15 and 4. So, yung naging result po niya and yung naging remainder is 3.
Iniwalay mo na para hindi siya Okay.
Kasi na po dito, nag-error.
Siya nag-error siya.
Opo.
Pwede naman. Kung hindi hindi sila nag-uusap ng maayos.
Sa power naman po, naglagay po ako ng preprocessor directive na math po. Para po, ewan ko, kailangan po daw kasi. So,
sige, try mo.
So, gawin na rin po natin 15 and 4. So, ayan po yung lines. Niraise niya po sa 4. Okay po.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Malaki mong values nun. 15 times 15. Tapos yung niya. Medyo mabigat nga yan. Okay. Next, si Kale. Dali lang, Kale, ha?
Sige.
I just need to go to the restroom. Sandali. Okay. I'm back. Okay, sige. Kale? Wala na. But na. Wala na sabi. Wala na sabi.
Ito po?
Okay.
Gamit din po ako ng switch.
Nice. Linis.
Tapos po,
malinis ang gawa mo, Okay. Sige, tingnan
Mag-enter
natin.
ka po muna ng 2 integers. Kunwari po, pipili ko po sa choices kung ano pong calculation yung gusto. Pag addition po, ayan.
Ayos. Hanggat hindi na tatapos, hindi siya mag-exit. Okay.
Tapos, yung remainder. The subtraction.
Okay.
Pag lahat po ng operation.
Meron ka rin nung lahat. Nice one. Ayun yung number 5, no?
Opo.
Gusto ko tong gawa mo. Okay. Tapos pagkano, exit 6. Good job, Kale. Malinis. Doon lahat yung choices. Yes.
Pinapasaki po pala ni Jane Rojas na katulad din po nung kay Kyle, sisend na lang daw po sa GC yung gawa niya.
Sa GC? Sino yun? Si?
Rojas po.
Si Rojas.
Jane Rojas.
Nailagay na ba?
I-forward ko na lang po.
Sige, pakip-forward. Mamaya balikan natin pagka na-forward na. Ano nyo na lang ako. I-call nyo na lang ako. Next, si Alec. Ay, sorry. Si Catherine pala. Sorry. Catherine Magno. Good job, Kale. Yung kay Catherine. May switch ka. Okay. Right. Okay. Sige. Run. Alright. Meron ka rin ng exit. Okay. Right. And then, okay. And then, integration. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Next, si Alec De Leon.
Kita na po ba mo?
Yes, Alec.
So, ito po yung ano po, yung dito po, lahat po ng operation po, nasasagot po.
Okay.
Wala pa po nilagyan po. Ito po yung answers po.
Isang bitaw na sila.
Opo. Pero meron din po ako yung magkakahiwalay. Halos same lang naman din po ng code po. Parang lang po, pinaghiwa-hiwalay lang po talaga.
Not bad. Okay. Maraming choices. Alright. Thank you, Alec. Right, next, si Lester Watson. Teka, tataas ko to. Lester Watson on the mobile. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay, sige. 25. Okay. Right. Alright. Sige. Thank you, Mr. Watson. Next, si Elia Jeline.
Hello po, mag-share screen lang po.
Yes.
Yung gawa ko po is hiwa-hiwalay. So, ito po yung una sa sum.
Okay. Alright.
Ayan po. Ay, quotient po pala.
So, dinoble mo na silang lahat para sigurado tayong lilito yung ano. Not bad. Sige.
Tapos sa sum po.
Okay.
Pag-difference naman po.
Alright.
Ayun po. Tapos last po, multiplication. Ayun po. Ayun lang po. Thank you po.
Okay. Alright, thank you. Next, Siron.
Share screen ko.
Siyempre, kailangan mag-share screen.
Kita na po.
Yes.
Yan po yung ginawa ko. Ito po siya kapag rinan.
So, nag-ano ka naman.
Pipili muna po ng gagamitin na operation.
Sige.
Ito po. Yan po siya.
Okay. Alright. That's good. Eh, yung B. Try mo yung B. Yung division.
Ito po yung sa subtraction po.
Okay, sige.
Yan po.
Wow. Okay.
Pag naman po wala sa choices yung nilagay nila, ganito po yung nilitaw. Ano po? Error po.
Error. Okay. Okay. Not bad. Tingnan nyo, ha? Talagang ang developer, kanya-kanya ng approach, no? So, ayan. Thank you, Siron. Next, si Ashley.
Hello po. Share screen. Kita po yung screen ko, ma'am.
Yes.
So, dapat po gagawin ko is isa-isa lang rin po na code sana. Pero napagana ko naman po nung pinagsama-sama ko.
So, yan yung pinagsama-sama mo.
Opo.
Okay. So,
So,
meron ka dyang, teka, nadali. Titingnan ko siya. Ayan. So, meron ka dyang function. Hindi, baba mo. Nasa 30 na agad na line eh. Itaas mo pala, sorry. Para makita yung sa ibabaw. Ayan. So, andyan na yung function mo, yung add, div 2, product 2, quotient 2, modulo 2. Okay, looks good. So, naka-upload na yung quotient tsaka yung modulo. Not bad. O, sige, tingnan nga natin.
Ito po siya pag-rinan.
Okay.
Try natin yung ganyan po.
Laki ng values. Okay. Not bad. Right. Okay. Good job. Sige.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Ashley. Next, si JR Sadoy.
Sir, ito lang po. Nakikita na po, ma'am.
Yes. Ayan na.
So, yan lang po yung ginamit ko.
Okay. Num1, num2, num. And then operation. Mga variable. Okay. Sige. Tapos meron kang switch. Okay. O, sige. Run mo. Oh, ano nangyari? Number 12? Yes. Ano kasunod yan? Ano nangyari, JR? Hindi gumagalaw yung 12. Ayan. Okay. So, mag-enter ka ng anong operation. Okay. Ano mo nga yan? I-close mo nga yan. Tingnan ko yung code mo kung paano mo ginawa. So, naandyan ka. Tapos, wait. Huwag mong galawin. Sandali. Ayan. Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay. Sige. Thank you. Thank you, JR. Okay na ako. Next, si Bailon Reynaldo.
Hello po, ma'am.
Ayan.
Ito po yung sa may addition.
Okay.
Ayan po. Bali po yung isa-isa ko po ang operations. Ito po yung sa may difference. Ayan po. Tapos ito naman po yung next product. Tapos po yung sa may division.
Okay.
Tapos po sa may remainder.
May remainder, yes.
Ayan.
Okay. Alright. Looks good. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Mr. Bailon. Next, si Mac. Mac Paul Custodio. Yes.
Pinagkakama ko.
Okay. Oh, ba't tumara?
Yung tanong ko din.
Okay.
Kanina yan.
Alright. Sige. Close mo. Tingnan ko lang yung code. Alright. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Mr. Custodio. Sige, i-share natin yung gawa ng kaklase nyo na nasa GC. Right. Ito yung kay Jainel. Ayan. Aba ka dyan. Pwede kayong lakihan ito. Pwede ko bang lakihan? Ay, ba't nawala? Ay, hindi lumalaki. Okay, fine. Alright. Thank you. Thank you, Jainel. Buti nakapag-send ka pa rin. Okay. Okay. Alright. Sige. Pwedeng pasadahan ko lang itong natin, yung kasunod nung parameters with multiple parameters. Ito, yung kasunod nung creating function with sayang yung pwede pa itong matapos ng isang Okay, so wait lang. Ayusin ko lang yung ating dapat may sound. Okay. This one is multiple parameters.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to your 11th tutorial, and in this tutorial, I'm just kidding, I'm not going to do this whole tutorial in song. Maybe another tutorial, but I'm not really in the mood this time. So anyways, in this tutorial, what I'm going to be teaching you guys is how to use functions that require multiple parameters. So let me give you guys a quick example of a function that might require multiple parameters. If you were making a calculator and you wanted the user to enter two numbers, well, it doesn't exactly know what those numbers are yet, so we go ahead and we use these numbers as parameters in functions. So as you can see, instead of just a single piece of information, it might need 2 numbers or 8 numbers or 20 numbers. So in order to use multiple parameters in a single function, let me show you guys how to do that. So let's go ahead and make that program right now that just goes and adds 2 numbers together. Well, we can't use void because right now it is making a calculation. It's gonna calculate 2 numbers, find the sum of them, and return to us the answer. So let's go ahead and say, alright, since what you're going to be returning to us is an integer, go ahead and type int. And now, what am I going to name my function? Add numbers. Simple, easy, pretty clear. So now, we go ahead and make our parameter list and body list. Here's what I do. Before I add in my parameters, I don't know why, but you know, I just do it. So what we want to do is we already know that we can use one parameter by setting the data type and giving it a variable name such as int x. Well, we know that this function is going to need 2 numbers. We already did one, so how do we say we want to use another number as well? Well, anytime you use more than one parameter, you have to separate it with a comma, and then you give it another piece of information that it's going to need. So it's going to need 2 numbers. One is going to be called x, and one is going to be called y. So let's go ahead, and now we have a function that takes 2 extra pieces of information. So we're going to be giving it 2 integers, x and y. So now let's go ahead and use those numbers somehow. So what we're going to be doing is, let's go ahead and make another variable called answer, and this is just equal to the values of x plus y. So say that the user passed in 2 numbers, 5 and 6. Well, what we're going to do now is say, alright, 5 equals x, 6 equals y, so answer equals 11. So once we have that answer calculated, all we need to do now is we need to return it, and this pretty much means give it back. So in order to return anything, you just go ahead and write return and then what you want to return. Well, just return the answer. So a return value is basically, once you make your calculation, the final calculation, that's what they get back. So in main, we return 0 because computer programs know whenever you get 0 back, this means that your computer program ran successfully. Well, for this one, we want to return the answer because that means that we calculate the answer, so that's what we're going to return back. So now, when we're using our function, we can just go ahead and print out that value using cout, and then go ahead and write add numbers, and then go ahead and write whatever numbers you want to add. And just like before, whenever we were creating our function, we had to separate these variables with a comma. Whenever we're using this function later on in our main program, we separate the values we're passing it in with a comma as well. So 43 is going to be equal to x, and 86 is going to be equal to y. So let's go ahead and build and run this and check it out. 129. Pretty cool, huh? So what happened is this. We said, alright, we want to print out the return value of this right here. So we can't just go ahead and do this because this is going to go ahead and calculate it, but it's not going to print anything out on the screen. So it actually made that calculation, but nothing's printing out. So in order to print that out, that's why we need that cout to print out the return value of this. So anyways, what we did is we said this. Alright, we want to use this add numbers function right here, but it needs 2 integers in order to work. It needs an x and a y. So we said, alright, you want 2 integers? You got it. You got a 43 and an 86. Let's make some magic happen, baby. So it took that 43, plugged it in for x, and 86, plugged it in for y, and it stored that value, or excuse me, it stored the sum of the calculation in a variable called answer. And the answer was like, I don't know what it was, but it took that answer and it returned it back to you. So it says, alright, this is basically equal to 129. So this right here is pretty much just a different way of saying 129, so I'm going to print out 129. And that is how you use functions with multiple parameters.
Ayun, okay. Ayan, nagsasabi na sa atin si Lien. Salamat. Salamat for reminding us. Ayan, Lien, thank you. Thank you for reminding the class that it's already time. Okay, thank you so much for today, class. Ayan, yan yung ating discussion ng function, no? Natapos na natin. So, meron pa yan, mahaba-haba pa yan, ano? Kasi yung function, medyo madami siya, no? Teka lang, i-ano lang natin doon sa... Hindi ito. Bakit yan? Ayan, ito. So, ito yung playlist niya eh. So, may kasunod pa yan doon sa function, no? Ayan, yung may kasunod. So, ituloy lang natin to next time. Ayan. Alright. So, yun lang. Okay. Dahil may klase rin akong kasunod. Okay. So, may question ba kayo dun sa ating discussion ngayong araw na to? Meron ba kayong gustong iklaro? Maliwanag na ba yung issue natin dun sa project? At yung deadline sa May 23 to 28, no? Yung para dito sa ating midterms. Wala na bang kailangan i-clarify pa dito? Maliwanag na to?
By group po siya ng map, tama po ba?
Ang usapan natin, tinanong ko kayo kung anong gusto nyo. Gusto nyo ba individual or by group? Ang naalala ko sa klase ninyo, gusto nyo by group. Ayan, yun ang natatandaan ko. Ang tanong ko lang is, nakagawa na ba kayo ng group? Hindi pa.
Nagawa pa lang po.
Oo, gawa na kayo ng grupo kasi Mayo na at ngayon ay May 18. Malapit-lapit na tayo. Next week na yung midterms. Ayan. Submisa ng project. Ayan. Okay. Kaya magandang kinaklaro ko na. At saka yung kung paano siya gawing executable, binigay ko na yung doon sa instruction doon sa video, doon sa GC, no, para hindi na kayo maghanap ng other instruction, maliwanag naman 'yon. Ayan. Okay, any other question doon sa ating discussion?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Na-clarify ko lang po, sorry. Kanina po kasi medyo nag-aano yung internet ko na in-explain niyo po yung sa simple and complex. Ask ko lang po na sa midterms, simple and complex application po ba ang ipapasa or simple lang po muna?
Hindi. Kasi merong kasing nagtanong, raw yung pagkakaiba ng simple at saka complex. Yung complex sa finals yan. Yung simple sa midterm. Okay, yan. Buti klinaro mo. Ayan, Pam. Salamat for bringing that up. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Meron pa bang tanong? Gawa na kayo ng groupings kung groupings yung gusto nyo, no? Para, next week na yon. Next week na yung natin. Okay. O kung wala nang tanong, ako ay magpapaalam na. Pwedeng pahingi ng kukunan ko ng screenshot para sa ating attendance. Pakibuksan po yung inyong mga video. Ayan. Labas na natin yung ating mga naggagandahan at nagpopogi ang mga mukha. Ayan. O, diba? Ano yan? Ba't madilim? Okay. O, sige, kukunan ko na ng screenshot. Ayan. Okay? Alright. Okay. Teka, sandali. Isa-isa lang. Palipat-lipat. Sandali. Okay. Print screen. First set. 1. Okay. Okay. 2. And 3. Ayan. Okay. Good na ako. Okay. Thank you. Ayan, kung wala ay pwede na tayong maghiwa-hiwalay, no? Kasi may klase pa ako. Meron pa ba kayong mga gustong itanong? Wala na? Okay? Kung wala na, di mag-ingat tayo at umuulan, no? Ayan. Okay.
Thank you po.
Sige, salamat ng marami.
Salamat po, Ma'am Myla.
Huwag kayong
Thank you,
magpapautang.
ma'am.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you po.
Baka kayo dumami. Joke lang. Team Spain. Hindi, joke niya. Hindi na gets. Ayan, done.